Was that the game one you guys won in Boston? Remember Derrick went off, and that was his second year, and it was kind of that was his obviously his first big playoff moment. Was that something? Could you see at the time, like, okay, this is who this guy is going to be? Then did you know after game one, like this is a little bit different than maybe you expected?
No, I knew. We knew before that. We knew during the season, during regular season, that he was special. He always. I'll never forget when Vinny down there goes like, "We're playing against Steve Nash. Steve Nash is the MVP. Playing against Phoenix, and we're watching film, and Vinny goes, Kirk, you got Steve Nash," and there goes, "No, he doesn't. I got Steve Nash," and he goes, "No, our best on ball defender is Kirk Heinrich. Kirk Heinrich, you're guarding Steve Nash." And Derrick, he's painfully shy. "No, I got Steve Nash." He's like, "I'm not running from no matchup." And the whole, and the whole game, he's just like, that's how he wanted to be special from the get. And people, just because he was quiet, people thought that, he was like some like real humble kid. No, his dreams and the way that he carried himself was like, he was a big dreamer. He thought he knew he was great. He knew he was destined for greatness.
There's a lot to talk about with Derrick. And something you said earlier to me was you felt like anytime pre or post injury, like Derrick on the floor, there was hope. There was hope that you could win. There was hope that you could win a championship. I think in some ways too, just he represents that for so many people in Chicago, if that makes sense. When he was, prior to him getting hurt, in his sort of, I guess he had a very short-lived prime, unfortunately, in terms of his athleticism. Certainly not in terms of his game, because he continues to play high-level basketball. But was there a specific move, a specific dunk, a transition play or something that like you think stands above the rest?
I mean, one in particular, no. To me, it was just more like, okay, you get a defensive rebound and then you pass it to the guy, and then in 2 dribbles, he's the first one down the floor with the ball. I mean, there was nobody else I had ever seen do that before. I like to get defensive rebounds and maybe take a couple dribbles myself. That's what I like to do. But then I also realized, like, I'm playing with, the fastest guy. He had like a layup package that was just insane. Left hand, right hand. It was just the way he was doing it. The fear that he put in people who played against him. The top guys, I would see fear in their eyes all the time. And I was like, okay, because he was quiet, but he was a killer. Very like for me personally, I was like more, I was loud. I was, I played with like a real. This guy was just mellow-headed the whole time, just level-headed. No moment was too big for him, and it was just awesome to have a floor general like that.
Yeah, for me, it's the Dragic dunk when he dunked on Goran Dragic, like that.
Shout out Goran, man.
Yeah, I mean,
that guy.
Oh, it's one of the best competitors. I love going against him. He was great. Derrick was he was special, and still is. I mean, it's amazing to me too. Not just I mentioned the hope, but like you see like his popularity, like even now, whether it's jersey sales, he sat out seasons and was like in the top 5 to 10 vote getters for All-Star break. What do you think it was about, whether it was his game, his story, his personality, there was something that just like captured people. And as his teammate, you probably have a good idea of what captured sort of your passion and your love for playing with him.
Well, I think that, first of all, he was a hometown kid. So he was from the hood, from the South Side, and he looked and he's from Chicago. Like, some people say they're from Chicago. They're not really from Chicago. They're from the outskirts. There's a lot of those.
Northbrook, Glenbrook,
yeah, they're from there. They're from all that. That doesn't count.
Westbrook, whatever.
He's from the hood, from the South Side. So he was Chicago, and I don't care his run at his peak. If you're from Chicago, you want it to be that. You want to be the number one pick from the Bulls, having that building rocking the way that he did. And no, the hope was real, and the hope all around the city. And the thing that was so beautiful about it is that, he was a painfully shy guy. So you didn't see an arrogance to him in the way he conducted himself, because he was shy.
Yeah.
But even though in his mind he was like, yo, I'm great. He didn't talk like that. He wasn't coming he carried himself because he was a legit superstar, but he carried himself completely different than everybody else. And when you talk about stardom and being that young and having to deal with that much people, just that much attention, that much people telling you how great you are, and
in your hometown too.
In your hometown, just the way he handled it was something that, as teammates, we could be really proud of. I was like, yo, this guy's like, he's not walking to practice with, glass shades on, and he was chill. He just wanted to be with the guys, like, he was chill with it. So there's not too many I've seen along who have dealt with that kind of stardom and really doesn't want it, like legit though. Not, oh, I don't want it, but But I'm secretly looking at every Instagram comment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna ask about him looking back now a little bit. We haven't had him on the show yet, but the amount of mental toughness it takes, to go through after the injury, the next year of talk about, media people and everybody having a comment about his body that they don't actually know anything about. They're just sort of talking. But then he gets hurt again, and we've had a couple guys on recently who've talked about this, and Grant is another one who's just like, your body's breaking down and you're one of the best athletes in the world. There's nothing you can do about it, and how frustrating that is. But to go through an experience like that over the course of 2 or 3 years and then come back and have a really good career. I mean, he's still in the middle. He's still in the midst of it. So we don't even know what's next, but just to it wasn't like he had that run and then he went away. And so that takes a level of mental toughness just to get back to that point.
No, I think that's why people, that's why he's the people's champ, because he did go through that. And there was a lot of people in Chicago that turned on him because he didn't play back that year. And, you're on every commercial. You just signed a huge deal with Adidas, and you're on every commercial for Adidas, like, the return and this, and you're like, you don't feel ready to play. A lot of people that were, giving him that high praise. It's like I guess the MVP is the gift and the curse. It's a gift because you're the youngest MVP ever, but it's a curse because you have to deal with really high scrutiny all the time. And he had to do it, dealing with a ACL in a playoff game where, I mean, to me personally, it was like that year we had just lost in the conference finals to Miami, and we had upgrades, and we were hungry, and we were ready for all that smoke. And, unfortunately, we didn't get back to that. And it's like, it just shows like you cannot take none of this for granted, because just like that's what I learned from the whole experience. It's just like, you cannot take anything for granted in this league, because it just like that, the whole thing changes.